So welcome again to our segment as I continue the 2025 paper 1. We ended on question number 34, so I want to start with question 35, and that question number 35 is under classification. So it says the diagram shows an arthropod. You can see that. Using the following classification key, identify the correct option for each key which identifies the arthropod. So they'll give you a key, and that key will help you to identify. For example, just study that arthropod. Number 1, it has wings. That is, if it has wings, you go to A. That's A1. Then does not have wings. That is 1B. Then number 2 has 2 body parts. So if you look at that one, which one qualifies there in this case? Has wings, does not have wings. Of course, we know that it actually does have the wings because we are able to see them. Number 2 has 2 body parts, then has 3 body parts. So if you study the object, the arthropod there, you are going to see there's the head, the thorax, and also the abdomen. So there are 3 sections that it has. So basically that qualifies because it has got 3 body parts: the head, the thorax, and also the abdomen. Then the other one has 3 pairs of legs, has 4 pairs of legs. So when you notice from here which one actually qualifies, so if you notice, that is a pair, that's another pair, and that's another pair. So there are 3 pairs of legs. So you can see A1, B2, and A3 actually qualifies. So, and that is basically your answer. So that's the way you can go about it. It's just by studying the diagram and using that key, then you should be able to identify it. Number 36, which one of the following is not a factor that makes the soil fertile? So there's air, the microorganism, and moisture. Now, of course, if you look at air, microorganisms, and moisture, all these actually contribute to improving soil fertility. But leaching is where nutrients are actually washed away, or they sink deep into the ground, and hence it is going to make the soil to lose its fertility. So which of the following is not a factor that makes the soil fertile? It is actually leaching, because leaching helps to remove the needed nutrients. 37, which of the following is an abiotic component of the environment? So remember, abiotic simply means non-living thing, the non-living component in the environment. So between these, which one is actually a non-living thing? So there's glass, there's plasmodium, there's water, and there are worms. So all these grass, plasmodium, and worms are actually living things, and therefore these 3 that you see are what we call as being biotic factors in the environment. But water does not qualify. It is a non-living thing in the environment, and therefore it is simply called as being abiotic. Hopefully you get the sense there. Let's conclude. 38 says the diagram shows a food web. So you can see a food web, which is simply several interlinked food chains that we do have there. So there's a tree, a fungus, B2O, there's tree, mouse, O, there's a tree, mouse, squirrel, and hawk. Which of the organisms shown in the food web can survive by taking in only simple inorganic material? So they're simply talking about which one can survive by taking in simple inorganic materials. Basically, plants like trees are able to survive because, for example, they are able to use carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight over chlorophyll to produce food, which we call as being glucose and oxygen. So they're able to survive on inorganic material. Plants are capable of doing that. If you look at 39, it says the following graph shows the population growth curve for a species of insect which was introduced in a certain area. So this is the population size, insects per square, then since time introduced per day. That's what they are telling us. How long after the introduction? So it says how long after the introduction does the insect population size start to be limited by resources such as food. So if you can see, somewhere at 50, it starts to increase. Then somewhere close to 200 there, it again starts to decrease. So how long after introduction? So basically, we can just say 200 minus 50, and that can give us 50 days. So how long? It actually took 150 days. Then the last but not the least there says, which of the following is not a direct economic reason for maintaining biodiversity? So which one is not an economic reason for maintaining biodiversity? There's conservation, plants and animals used for medicine. This is an economic benefit. Source of food, an economic benefit. For tourism, an economic benefit. But conservation is not a direct economic reason for maintaining biodiversity. But of course, in essence, there are good reasons for maintaining biodiversity in your paper too when they ask you that. Thank you so much for watching. Please, you can watch out for other videos where I actually guide you and see how you could have actually gone about answering such questions. If you love what we do, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching.